For generations, doctors have been seen as symbols of trust. They are invited into our homes, trusted with our bodies, and relied upon at our most vulnerable moments. This is the story of Dr. Harold Fredericks Shipman, a respected family doctor, and ultimately, the most prolific serial killer the United Kingdom has ever known. This is not a story of sudden violence. It is a story of silence, authority, and a system that failed to ask questions. Early life and background: Harold Shipman was born in January 1946 in Nottingham, England. He was the middle child in a working-class family and, by most accounts, a bright and disciplined student. His mother played a dominant role in his upbringing. When she became seriously ill during his teenage years, Shipman witnessed her gradual decline and eventual death. This period left a deep psychological mark. Friends and teachers later described him as intelligent but emotionally distant, a young man who preferred control over connection. The respected general practitioner. By the mid-1970s, Shipman was working as a general practitioner, or GP. He later established his own practice in Hyde, Greater Manchester. To the outside world, he appeared exemplary, well-spoken, neatly dressed, professional, and confident. Some lived alone. Others had limited family support. Shipman became known for making home visits, something increasingly rare among doctors at the time. This earned him admiration and loyalty. To his patients, he was not just a doctor, he was a lifeline, a pattern hiding in plain sight throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Deaths among Shipman's patients occurred with unusual frequency, but there were no immediate alarms. Why? Because cremation forms required little independent scrutiny. Families were told the deaths were natural. The first serious suspicions. In 1998, a single case changed everything. A local woman died unexpectedly. Soon after, her family discovered that her will had been altered shortly before her death, leaving Shipman as a beneficiary. Police were contacted, and for the first time, Shipman's actions were examined not as medical events, but as potential crimes. The police investigation. Investigating a doctor is exceptionally difficult. Medical professionals operate within layers of authority, paperwork, and professional respect. Shipman understood this system well. However, detectives began noticing disturbing patterns. An unusually high number of patient deaths. Deaths clustered around Shipman's visits, inconsistencies in medical records. Medical experts were brought in. Patient histories were reviewed. What emerged was deeply troubling. Arrest and trial. In September 1998, Harold Shipman was arrested. The trial began in 1999, focusing initially on a limited number of cases. Even those were enough to shock the nation. The jury heard how official documents had been manipulated, and professional authority had been abused. In January 2000, Shipman was convicted of multiple murders and sentenced to life imprisonment, with the judge stating he should never be released. The Shipman Inquiry. The trial was not the end. Public outrage led to the Shipman Inquiry, one of the largest investigations in British medical history. Over several years, the inquiry examined thousands of patient deaths. The final conclusion was staggering. Harold Shipman may have been responsible for more than 200 deaths. No other serial killer in the UK comes close to this number. Death in prison. In January 2004, Harold Shipman was found dead in his prison cell. His death came before many families felt they had answers. For some, it was a final act of control, denying victims' families closure. Impact on the medical system. The consequences of the Shipman case reshaped British medicine. Major reforms followed. Stricter monitoring of death certification, changes to controlled drug oversight, improved reporting systems for unusual death patterns increased. Accountability for medical professionals. Trust was no longer assumed. It had to be verified. Final reflection, Harold Shipman did not fit the stereotype of a killer. There were no warning signs obvious to the public, no dramatic crimes in dark alleys. Instead, there was an unquestioned authority.